Battaglia.
The attendance has been great. The focus day in and day out has been tremendous. Going out there to practice for the second day now, how focused they were, intentional about improving, just getting these players as up to speed as quickly as we can.
I like the schedule. I do believe the Bills will come off 12-5. I think the Bills still will win the division for a fifth straight year, and they will sweep the fish.
Mike Danger.
My bigger overarching wide view of this offseason for the Bills is I don't like it. I don't like what they've done. I don't like the decisions that they've made. It's going to be hard for me to come around by the time we get to training camp. Don't worry, I'll get there.
Gene Battaglia.
You know, something I've learned, all football players look great this time of year. Everybody's
excited.
Everybody's excited. Yep, everybody looks great in the sunshine and in shorts. Let's have a day.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Power play goal. Edmonton in Game 7.
On the court, the Celtics and Pacers open the Eastern Conference Final at 8 Eastern in Boston tonight.
How is everybody doing on this beautiful Tuesday?
Thank you for listening to the show.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you into the Sports Bar, Rochester's only local sports talk show. Glad you're listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. We've also got the video stream up for you to watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, on twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. You can even get us on your smart device anytime when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. I am Mike Danger. That is Gene Battaglia.
So you come in all looking little tan. It's a good start there, buddy, but I'm a little worried. Like, why dressed up again? This is not like you to be in a collared shirt once again.
I'm wearing golf attire today. In fact, Tim, one of our coworkers, stopped me. He was like, "Are you going to go to the course?" I'm like, I wish. I was at Ravenwood on Sunday. My daughter had a match Sunday night. So Sandy and I went to Ravenwood. We watched the end of the PGA Championship on the patio there at Ravenwood. And as I was out there and just kind of like taking it all in, just enjoying the scenery, you know how it is when you're at a golf course. It's relaxing.
Yeah. Came from one today. I was down at Wildwood. This is the time.
Great time of year.
If you can afford to take a Tuesday off and go golfing, yeah, get out there today.
So yesterday I was at Midvale for the Open Door Mission charity golf tournament. They invited me to come out and host and MC, and I did that for a little bit. And I wasn't unfortunately able to golf. I wanted to golf with my daughter. My daughter wasn't able to get out, and we weren't able to get out there. So yesterday afternoon, I had planned on yesterday afternoon golfing when I originally said, hey, I need the 20th off. Because that didn't happen, I could have probably come in yesterday, Gino, but if I'm being completely selfish and honest, I needed the day just to get caught up on things around the house. So you see the tan. Yeah, I was outside for most of yesterday afternoon. I don't know if you're like me, but I need to get things in order by the time Memorial Day hits so that I can at least feel like Memorial Day is the start of summer, the unofficial start of summer.
Sure.
I need to be able to feel like I'm going to be able to enjoy summer by getting everything done that needs to be done before we get to Memorial Day.
A little OCD.
A little bit?
Yeah,
you think so?
Yeah. Like, what if you get like rain? I haven't looked this weekend, honestly.
Oh, it's probably going to rain this weekend. Yeah. It's probably not going to go. And look, the rain hasn't helped me get things done. I think I'm behind, really, more than anything, because of how wet it's been and how much rain we've had. There are projects around the house that I do annually that I haven't been able to get done yet because the weather has affected it. There are things that have me a little bit behind the eight ball. So, yesterday I was outside for a good chunk of the afternoon. I was also, by the way, a really, really good neighbor. You got to be a good neighbor, right? Like if you've ever had a bad neighbor, you know how bad it can be. And I'm fortunate. My next door neighbor is like the best dude. He's just great family guy, takes care of his stuff, really, really intelligent. And he guilted me this winter. He guilted me because, like, you know, I'll be outside and I'll take a breath of fresh air, and really what I smell is whatever you got on that smoker that you got back there.
And I thought you were going to say, like, Walter leaving his mess.
No. No, that's never happened, thankfully. I think he would tell me straight up, like, hey, your dog needs to get out of my yard. He doesn't go into his yard at all.
Good.
Mother's Day, I smoked a brisket for the girls and for the family. and I had some leftover brisket, and I told myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn that leftover brisket and make a chili out of it. I know it's not chili season, but when you have leftover brisket, you want to make use of it. I brought some leftover chili that I smoked yesterday over to my next door neighbors. I felt pretty good about, where I am, and I've got a lot of things out of the way. I got a couple things that I'm going to have to deal with this weekend for the holiday weekend, but that's all right. That's all right. I'm feeling good. So I appreciate you being flexible with me, Gino.
Well, look, you got to be flexible with me today because you got asked, and it was a charity event. You're kind of, and like, fine, it's totally cool to take time off for that. I got asked to do the girls flag football. It's kind of redundant. The flag football championships. They're out at MCC today and tomorrow. So we've
Section 5?
Yep. So we got Athena and Batavia today. Gananda taking, which is not ER Gananda, it's just Gananda against Bishop Kearney. And then tomorrow, Greece Athena taking on Penfield. So today, 5 o'clock is the first game. So full disclosure, I'm going to go be Section 5 announcer today.
Absolutely. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. We'll try to give you what we normally give you on a Tuesday afternoon, although it is a little bittersweet. This is our first Tuesday with no Seth Appert.
So we'll get to this and I'll drink to that. But, Danger, here's what you missed from the Emirates coaching search and what we can report. Nothing. Nobody is talking, which, if you compare it to the NFL where they shine this big light on who are we talking to and we're interviewing this person for a coordinator position and what do you think, and it spurs conversation, gets the fan base excited. National Hockey League does business differently, and it's their business. That's the way they want to do it. So I'd love to tell you that what the day was that Nathan Page interviewed, or how serious a candidate and mayor is, or who they're talking from the outside, but everybody pretty much tight-lipped.
Yeah, you can connect dots. I think in the NHL, you have to connect the dots, right? You just have to be able to say who knows who, like anything, who knows who's got a relationship with who's been with the organization a long time. Mayor's been the director of player development for 5 years within the organization, right?
Right. And if Seth Appert kind of carried the flag of development, and you can also win while you're developing, that was part of it, you're better off if you have the guy in-house going with the guy in-house. So,
you have to develop a trust with somebody from the outside in versus the person that you already know. It turns out the best candidate for the job was here all along. Remember that line?
Of course. We joke about that. And I know there are people that say, Michael Pekka. What about Michael Pekka?
Stop.
Well, let's just kind of point out the pay would be just like a significant drop too.
But I mean, you're Michael Pekka. You played in the NHL a long time. You're an NHL guy. You're an NHL guy. You're not an AHL guy. You were an AHL guy to get your foot in the door, and you made the most of that opportunity. He's making the most of his current opportunity. They're still playing, and why would you go backwards? That feels like it would be a backwards move. Well, you get to be a head coach. In the AHL, you keep winning the way he's winning with the Rangers, you'll be an NHL head coach before we know it. Those opportunities happen.
Yeah, well, for the same reason, why did Seth not stay in Rochester if it's a better position? Like, was that Seth knocking on the door, or was that the Sabre? Regardless, and also Manhattan, Rochester, let's be honest, quality of life. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. As much as I'd like to have Michael Pekka come back, I don't think that's a real candidate. But I did say this yesterday, Danger, that if we get back after Memorial Day and there's still nothing and the Rangers are still out there, well, I would hope that within a couple of weeks you would have the head coach of the Amerks hired. For this reason, draft's coming up. You got free agency. You got all this stuff, player movement. Get somebody in now so you can be right alongside Karmanos and Adams when it comes to developing and making your player evaluations. I mean, that stuff needs to be done now.
Yeah. So again, a little bittersweet that we don't have Seth Appert on with us on a normal Tuesday, but we do have, joining us from OTAs, Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard and Shout podcast stopping by at his normal time, 3:25.
It did feel like football season today. Well, I guess the fact that they're all in shorts and they're really not running, full speed, but
I want to get excited about it, but I almost feel like the best reaction to OTAs is no reaction. Like, I don't know that we should have a reaction or we should take away anything from anything that we hear from any of the players or anything that we see from any of the players. I mean, there's little things you can look at and be like, oh, Josh Allen has new handshakes with all of his wide receivers. That's cool. Josh Allen spending more time throwing to his wide receivers after practice. That's probably a good thing.
Well, and then sometimes it's like if McDermott's going way out of his way to say nice things about Chase Claypool today, is that merited, or is that there are so many things today that you could say, oh, is this real or not? And you know what? Let's not worry about it.
Barry, bear with me here. A minute 40, but this is what you're discussing. Sean McDermott talking about both Chase Claypool and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and if you'd like, I can turn on the McDermott lie detector.
140. Okay, I got to get a pen here. Hold on. I wasn't planning on doing this today. 140.
Mm-hmm. On Claypool and MVS. I mean, it's going to be just a flowery bouquet of lies.
18 lies.
All right, let's see what we get.
I'm very impressed with Chase. Really just starting with his approach. Here's a veteran receiver, former high pick, that has been on a journey right through the course of recently his career, and I applaud Chase for coming here to see where things go, right? And so he's very focused. He's working extremely hard day in and day out, and embracing not just the wide receiver role that he could play for us, but also the special teams role that he could play for us. So you don't find that a lot around the NFL, where a player has been at a certain level and then is on a mission right now to reclaim what he once was in that regard. And those are my words, maybe not fair to Chase, respectfully, but I would just say, very impressed with his day-to-day approach. True pro, high character, smart player, and been a good addition to our team. Similar conversation, I would say. So, veteran player. I think he's won 2 Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken, and played with, good offenses, good quarterbacks, and you learn from those situations, right, when you go through those. And I've enjoyed our short, albeit time together, just learning some of the things that he's picked up along the way. And again, just a guy that seems like, again, short exposure, but he's focused on helping a team and adding the value that he can add to our football team.
Oh, close. 16.
That's pretty good.
11 of them on Claypool. And I think you get the bonus point where something is obvious. Yeah, does the sun rise in the east? I think the sun rises in the east.
If I'm not mistaken.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Of course he won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. Why do you have to fumble around with that?
This is why, the best reaction is probably no reaction. If you take away anything from what you heard just there, it's that if Chase Claypool is going to make this team, it's going to be as a special teamer. Maybe they use his size, maybe they use his speed, and that's his pathway to becoming a Buffalo Bill. That the days of Chase Claypool being on the field for an offense might be behind him, and he might just be best suited moving forward as a special teamer.
What are you talking about day in, day out? This is day number 2 of OTAs. Really, you have that much of a baseline? Yeah. Also, where he had a rookie season in Pittsburgh, and at the end of that season, it kind of fell apart, and since that point...
I think the severe attitude adjustment is needed because he quit on his team. He became a me-first guy and quit on his team. Now, if he's had that come to Jesus, and if he realizes, hey, if I want to continue to play in the NFL, I'm going to have to do whatever is asked of me without question, then maybe he makes this team. But I can't see it being more than a special teamer. He quit on his team. Don't tell me about he doesn't have any character issues. Of course he has character issues. He quit on his team. He's a reformed man all of a sudden. We'll get Perino's take on guys running around in shorts today.
Yeah. These notes from Josh Reed, WIVB. He makes the same observation that our guest yesterday, Mookie Hawkins, did, that if you say if there's a characteristic of these wide receivers, It's not separation. It's size. It's physicality. It's big frames. It's trying to post up these defensive backs. They don't seem to be too concerned about Josh Allen has the arm. He can put it anywhere.
So this is different than what the Bills' offense was looking for when Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator.
Correct. And Dorsey kind of kept it the same, but this is Brady's preference that he would rather have the physicality, would rather have maybe some run after catch.
Which is funny because Brady cut his teeth with guys who are phenomenal separators when you think about it. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Jefferson's got a little bit of both. But I wonder how much of this is also Josh Allen's preference. That, hey, instead of worrying about me fitting the ball into tight windows for a guy that can separate, let me just chuck it. Let me let guys go up and get it and make plays. I'm a little bit nervous that this is going to lead to more hero ball or more Josh Allen. I mean, look, if your guys are big and they can go up and get it, and Keon Coleman, if he has a strength, that is that, right? That he can play, as they say, above the rim, and he's got the big hands and he can go up and get it. Fine, but it takes away from what we've kind of seen out of Josh Allen's play so far, where you want a guy who can separate rather than just go up and get it.
How many times, though, do you see Allen just throw the ball? But, on his interceptions, is it more bad mechanics? That's just a bad throw.
Bad decisions.
It's bad decisions. So, to me, does it matter if the guy is open by 3 yards or 1 yard? It doesn't matter.
You're just saying eliminate bad decisions. There's no chance for you to make a bad decision. Just chuck it up there and hope that your guy gets it. And I wonder if they fixate on a play, because it feels like if Steph Diggs makes that catch against Kansas City, we're having a different conversation about this team. And that one play felt like the end of Diggs. It felt like the end of Diggs-Allen. And it maybe signaled the end of, hey, we just want guys who can separate. Now you've got guys that can go up and get it. And maybe a Keon Coleman makes that catch where Diggs doesn't. The guy that we haven't talked about yet in terms of the passing game is and the guy who could get separation is Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
Who, by all accounts, has looked really, really good in shorts up to this point. So.
Of course, it's that time of year, Dane.
Yep, it is. So Perino will stop by. We'll get his take on today's session coming up here in about 10, 15 minutes or so. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326 if you want to pull up a stool and join us. The table is set.
Yeah, as I did not stay up for Game 7 last night.
I did.
Did you?
I did. Game 7 last night felt like it was a game that it was one-sided from a shot perspective. Edmonton just dominated, but I never felt like Vancouver was entirely out of it. It had the markings of a game where you could see a team like outshoot another. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me if last night went, from a shot standpoint, Edmonton with 37 shots and Vancouver with 18, and Vancouver wins 1-0. Right? It felt like it could have been that kind of game where even though you're getting that outplayed, that badly outplayed, you still find a way to win because you're at home and it's emotional and you're playing tight. But Edmonton keeps the dream alive. I mean, if Edmonton is in the final, good for hockey. Yeah?
It's great for hockey because even though, look, hockey's on ESPN, it's on TNT. The casual fan will only, it's time for the finals. Oh, wait, I've heard about this McDavid guy. Let me see what this is all about. And it would actually help having a Canadian team, in my opinion, back in the final. I think Dallas is a superior team. I think Dallas will take care of business in 6, maybe 5. I don't think it's going to be close. Edmonton still has some bad goaltending. Dallas does not. Dallas is really buttoned up on the back end. So to me, I think it's more of a wish. I think that, honestly, I look at Vancouver or Edmonton, I'm thinking, boy, aside from the top-end talent on Edmonton, are the Sabres that far off? It's just that division not so good, where Dallas had to get by Colorado. To me, that felt more like the true Western Conference final.
Yeah, and then tomorrow night we'll get the East, which I love the matchup in the East. I just think it's fitting. You have the two best teams. They've been the two best teams all season between the Rangers and the Panthers. They're going to kill each other, man. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun series.
I'm a little surprised that the Rangers are plus money. They've got the home ice. You've got New York fans all excited. I would think there would be more money going on the Rangers, but apparently.
How disappointed were you yesterday with the Knicks outcome on Sunday?
No one cares when you're right, but I told you exactly what was going to happen. I said, Game 5, the Knicks can't win it today, but they can lose it. I just knew that this team was on fumes. So was I upset? I was kind of upset with how careless they were, but they had no energy, and everybody throwing bouquets at the Indiana Pacers are shooting 76%. Yeah, and part of that
67.
No, 76% in the first half they shot.
Yeah.
And then that ended up being which okay, that's great for them, but that also means what were you doing? And this is the criticism of Thibodeau, that he's just going to wear his teams down.
I ask that because I feel like that. I don't know. I know they're separate sports. It's a different thing. It's almost like a psyche with New York sports teams where I feel like the Rangers have the potential to do they don't have the injury issues that the Knicks have, obviously. You could blame the injuries on the Knicks not being able to advance, but why are they at plus money? Don't you just get the sense that the letdown is coming if you're a New York fan? Like the Rangers have been good all season, that they've been fun to watch. You're getting some pieces back. Maybe, just maybe, this is a special year, but oh yeah, we're playing that team from Florida that is pretty stacked, really good goaltending, some star players of their own, just really kind of gritty, physical team, well coached. I don't know, man. That's going to be a tight series.
I hope it goes 7. That's what I would love to see.
Me too. Me too. I kind of like the Rangers in that series, giving plus money. I feel like there might be some value there, but that's going to be a tough series. Let's shift gears and get back to the Buffalo Bills. Talk to Matt Perino, covering the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast. You can hear that anywhere you get your pods. He's joining us next in the Sports Bar with his recap of today's session here on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to And Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills organized team activities. Day number 2 in the sunshine. Bills head coach Sean McDermott talking today.
The attendance has been great. The focus day in and day out has been tremendous. Going out there to practice for the second day now today and watching those guys practice yesterday, how focused they were, intentional about improving.
We'll talk to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast. Matt joining us next year in the Sports Bar. The doubleheader down in Allentown, where the Red Wings winning Game 1 of a doubleheader today against Lehigh Valley 4-1. Game 2 not going so well. The Wings right now down 13-3 in the 6th. James Wood with a home run for Rochester. NBA Eastern Conference Final begins tonight. It's Boston and Indiana, Game 1. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
A little bit of playfulness is good, and there's a certain time and place for it. But Keon, from a young person standpoint in this league, understanding the importance of earning the respect of your teammates first and foremost, and the work that's got to be put in between now and earning your spot.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott on rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman. OTAs continue in Orchard Park. We check in with Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard. Matt, my take has kind of been with OTAs, maybe the best reaction is no reaction because everybody looks good in shorts and everybody's in the best shape of their life. What are you taking away from your observations there at Bills OTAs?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to overreact to anything that you're seeing or hearing from this time period. I mean, it's not even really football yet. I mean, they're in shorts. They're going through the motions. But you can glean, like, a couple of things, like, you know, the way that guys practice, the attitude out there, what they're kind of working on, reactions to how players are kind of performing. And, you know, I would just say my overall sense from the day and really going back to camp is there's just like it feels like there's a rejuvenation to the way that they've remade this roster and so many new players and coaches in the building in different roles, even guys that are coming back maybe in different roles. I mean, you think about a guy like Bobby Babich, who is known for his energy in the linebackers room, to be running the whole defense now. They're just, you could get the feel is a little bit different in a lot of ways. And attendance has been really good. The only guys not there today, Daquan Jones and Rasul Douglas. So you get a chance to see what this whole picture looks like for the first time. But to your point, it's best to kind of keep things in their proper perspective.
Yeah, McDermott asked about Matt Milano and Matt Perino, our guest here. Matt, what kind of timeline do you expect? Because this wasn't a torn ACL, and we've seen the Bills kind of slow play things through camp. So, could we perhaps expect Matt Milano to be ready by the time Fisher breaks here on July 24th?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very interesting that McDermott said that, you know, he could be working into some drills maybe even before training camp, and you wonder if that means maybe at the, you know, the back end of this thing, maybe mandatory mini camp, even if he's off to working to the side out there in a uniform by the time mini camp breaks. I think that gives you a lot of hope. But I also think at the same time, like, I don't think it's worth overreacting to if he's not out there by the start of training camp. I think it's you know, you take this thing as it goes, and, you know, at this time, a lot like Micah Hyde, right? Like, a lot of fans are asking, like, well, if, you know, Micah Hyde's putting it out there, whether, like, you know, he hasn't decided yet, he could come back at any time, and it's like, yeah, I don't know what the rush is because he doesn't need this time. But guys like DeMar Hamlin and guys like Taylor Rapp and guys like Dorian Williams, who, you know, is going to get a lot of really important snaps over the next couple of weeks and then into the summer. They need these snaps more than guys like Matt Milano. So I just think that you want to get him to a place where he's running around, he's active, he's getting hit again sooner rather than later. But I'm not at a point yet where if he's not ready for the start of training camp, that I'm super concerned.
Is there a different energy or vibe that you notice with the absence of Steph Diggs?
That's a great question, and I like how you kind of just stopped right there. You didn't have to lead it up. You didn't have to
You know what I mean?
dress it up.
You know what I mean?
No,
we've all, for those of us that have seen the Bills practice, or if you've been to training camp, you knew that guy was on the field. There was a presence, there was an energy, there was a vibe. I think the word that everybody liked to use was there was a juice. Do you still feel that?
It was one practice, so it's hard to kind of have one big observation, or I think there's more going on right now is like a feeling out process. Interesting quote. We got a chance to talk to Chase Claypool after practice, and the thing that he said, he gave us a little bit of insight into the process and said the Bills were interested even before the draft, but they wanted to kind of see how the draft played out before both parties signed on the dotted line. He wanted an opportunity, was very interested, and was willing to wait to see if there was an opportunity that materialized. And he said the other thing about it is looking at this wide receiver room, everybody's on equal footing. And I think that's probably alluding to the fact that a lot of stops where Chase Claypool has been, the Bears, and then with the Dolphins, it's like very established pieces, and maybe not as good in Chicago, but, people in their roles with, very secure roles and not as much opportunity to compete and win your share of things. And that's what he said he likes so much about Buffalo, is that everybody's coming in here on equal footing outside of maybe like Khalil Shakir, who's been in a kind of supporting role, and there's tons of opportunity. So I think the person that's going to lead the charge from a juice perspective is going to have to materialize over time, right? Like Stephon Diggs always was that. But there's another thing, too. You go look in Houston right now, Stephon Diggs isn't there for voluntary workouts. He's at the point of his career where he doesn't show up for these kind of things. They have everybody there trying to figure things out, but definitely like a different vibe. When you go to these practices and you take your eyes and you shift them over to the wide receiver part, you immediately go to Diggs every single time. Now you kind of just go over there and just hang out for a while. You kind of think, oh yeah, there's KJ Hamler, there's Keon Coleman, there's Curtis Samuel, who is funny. Like I feel like Curtis Samuel is now like this forgotten guy. Like I almost feel like expectations for him are so low compared to what the Bills gave him in that free agent contract. I think people are underestimating the role that he's probably going to have in this offense, and he's almost floating under the radar.
Yeah, Matt, when we're going through the exercise, I know you've done this, the 53, like how would that kind of look? Is that the most difficult to project, in your opinion, who might be wide receiver 5, 6, maybe 7 on this Bills team?
Definitely. But I do think guys, I was talking about this off to the side with a couple colleagues today. It's like, you got a couple of guys that are willing to play special teams. They can play. They thrive on special teams. I mean, Claypool did it at a high level at Notre Dame. Then you take a guy like Mac Hollins, who I think for a long time had to be on special teams just to hang on an NFL roster. So my first thought process was, all right, are these guys competing for one spot? But the more I've kind of thought about it, they do different things. They bring different things. To me, the guy that really was the juice guy out there today was Mac Hollins, cheering in between plays, getting guys hyped up. You saw him at the softball game, the Micah Hyde softball game over the weekend in bare feet. He's a big proponent of that, running around. He even got Andy Isabella to join him and play the whole softball game in his bare feet. And he's loud. He's athletic. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of hard decisions, but they've almost built the room that way. Where if you really wanted, to get down to the end of it and something shocking happens, like maybe MVS doesn't hang out and make the final roster. I'm not projecting that, but something like that could happen just because of the competition that they brought in and all of the different flavors that they have. And I also think, like I had in my 53-man projection, I think it's very realistic that 7 guys make the roster, and then you get through the first month of the season and say, all right, who's stepping up? I think Samuel's going to have a defined role. Shakir's going to have a defined role. Keon Coleman's going to have a defined role as that X receiver. Beyond that, I think they're going to mix and match and play the matchups and figure out who clicks best with Josh Allen and go for that. MVS went to dinner with Josh Allen on his visit to Buffalo. I think a lot of receivers are going to be trying to cozy up to Mr. Josh Allen to try to win these these roles in this offense.
So let's talk a little bit more about that, Matt, because just from the outside looking in with some of the moves that they made, whether you're looking at Hollins or Claypool or even the draft pick of Justin Shorter last year, do you think offensively with Brady they're getting away from a philosophy of wanting receivers who can separate while they still have those guys with Kincaid and Samuel? You know, drafting Coleman kind of leads me to believe that they might be shifting gears and looking for more guys that'll just go up and get it rather than worry about the separation piece.
I think they want that in their offense. I think they want guys that can separate. I think that there's guys in the offense that maybe don't fit into your traditional idea of what a separator looks like. Like, yeah, there's not really like a Stephon Diggs style separator on this roster right now. But that's okay, because if you have like a big guy like that could go up and do the 50-50 stuff that Calvin Benjamin did, let's just use him as an example, but also gives you a little bit more versatility in the route tree that he can run. You know, I think of a guy like Keon Coleman. I think of a guy like MVS, a little bit more high-end speed. You know, you got to remember, these guys have different body types than some of the big guys that they've brought in before. They move a little bit differently. When you see these videos coming out of these practices, you're going to notice, like, yeah, there's bigger bodies, but they look different than the versions of these players the Bills have had in the past. So they're definitely changing course. They're visualizing a new like mainstay in terms of what Josh Allen is going to utilize in this offense at receiver. Whether or not it works, that's harder to project. They still got a couple speedy guys, like I mentioned Samuel, but how it all fits together, it's going to be a fun puzzle to try to put together when we're out there in Rochester.
Yeah. We're talking to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard. I mean, I go back to last year's camp. We're talking about the middle linebacker, talking about the corner, talking about the right guard battle, and ultimately, I think it comes down to 17. In my opinion, Matt, if Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level, everybody's going to come along for the ride. So, like, I don't want to kind of have a conversation about the Bills and not ask you about Josh Allen on his 28th birthday today. So how did Josh Allen look out there? And, you know, did he get any presents? Was he talking about that? How was his day today?
He looked great, man, as he always does in this setting. I mean, Josh Allen in shorts is kind of unfair from a football perspective. Can't hit him. You could try to get around him, but he's not worried about it. So he's just able to kind of sit back there and pick things off. His best throw of the day came to Dalton Kincaid, who had himself a really nice day. And kind of in his own way looked like weapon number one, like we were talking about. Yeah. Just with the plays that he made, his presence out there. You know, he just looks so much more comfortable in year two. Sal Capaccio was talking to Dorian Williams, and I just overheard it. You could probably find that on the Odyssey app that they have. He puts up all his interviews that he does after practice. And Williams was talking about how much different he feels going into year two than he did last year. And there's so much of that every single year that you got to start to project that forward. Like guys like Spencer Brown, guys like Osiris Torrance even, who you just mentioned, who were great last year in year three and year one, but probably should be expected to take a step, especially for Brown, who is entering a contract year. There's a lot of confidence when you get to play with Josh Allen. A lot of these younger players, Khalil Shakir is going to step into a bigger role. Josh Allen looked the part, as usual.
Well, speaking of Josh Allen looking the part, I mean, he's clear that he's been spending time with his actress girlfriend because he's got the chops as well. We haven't talked since the schedule release, Matt. I mean, Josh Allen playing the part of homeless Josh Allen living in the pit. We all kind of chuckle at that. We loved how they rolled it out. What was your takeaway from the Bills' schedule release last week?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you got those two big runs where the start of the season is really tough. You come out with the Cardinals, and then you got to play 5 really tough ones that includes a 3-game stretch on the road, 2 of those being in prime time. So, I mean, the Bills could kind of come out of the gates, and if they don't start super hot, I mean, things are going to get – there's the possibility that pressure meter gets ramped up again like it did last year when Sean McDermott had to, make a change for the good of their season. And, the schedule, with the way that it plays out early, if they don't get off to a hot start, those questions are going to come up again. If Joe Brady maybe has a tough start, if the defense falls off, and let's hypothetically say Babbage is calling the plays. Like, what's the heat like there? Now, these guys are in their first full year in those roles, so I'm not expecting something drastic like that. But, there's a lot of people that if you listen nationally are saying that the Bills are going to fall off. And when the schedule came out and the Bills first all their primetime games for the most part, I think 5 of 6 are in the first half of the season. Does the NFL think we better get in on this Bills thing before the train falls off the tracks? And then on the second half, that's arguably the tougher stretch when you got to face the Super Bowl combatants, the Chiefs and the 49ers back-to-back, the byes in between, which is a nice little piece of that. But then, by the way, you got to go on the road to the Rams after that and on the road to Detroit after that. So the Bills, if they're not securely above 500 by that back end of the schedule, that's going to be another gauntlet that they're going to have to run through. And then you're talking about if the division's out of play in an AFC with so much talent across the board, like, are you going to be able to win one of those wild card spots? So, the schedule it's a little bit daunting with the way that it kind of plays out. There's a couple easy pockets. I know a lot of fans don't like the Patriots twice in 3 weeks, but if you're fighting for a playoff spot, I think you love that. Yeah. That, potentially Drake May in his rookie season, you get to feast on him twice in the last month leading up to the, get hot going into playoffs. I think you like that part of it.
Yeah. Matt, what is your take on the Jets? Because I think that October 14th game might have the battle for first place written all over it on Monday Night Football. And the Jets did get a tough opener in San Francisco, but they got some wins after that. Tennessee and New England, they should be in good shape. But what drew Danger and our attention last week, what did you think of Mike Clay predicting the Jets not only would win the division, not only would win the conference, but he's predicting they're going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, Mike Clay from ESPN.
Yeah.
He's the free agent guy for them, right? Like, he puts out that big list of free agents every year, so he's probably loved the value that the Jets got. The problem there is you could sign all those guys at the top of their position groups, but if they don't hold up or they don't produce in year one of the offense or the defense or wherever it is, I just call me a non-believer here. Like, I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers. The guy's answering questions at his press conference today about not running for or not becoming a vice president to Robert F. Kennedy. I mean, it's a clown show in New Jersey, man. Like, every single time. And maybe they have the pieces there, the leadership there to withstand all of the distractions. I just haven't seen it. I watched Hard Knocks last year. I'm out on Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
I just don't. They have a lot of talent on that roster. On paper, sure. Like, I get why anybody would be high on them on paper. I just have yet to see it play out. For them to not make the playoffs last year, and I get it, but, like, Sean McDermott made the playoffs in 2017 with Tyrod Taylor and a bunch of misfit toys before they rebuilt this thing. That was at the very beginning of the build. Teams have done it. Teams have done it where they lose their quarterback or they don't have talent. I mean, look at the Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco last year. And the Jets were just a joke. And I get it. Zach Wilson, bad. Bunch of other quarterbacks, bad. But, yeah, guess what? They drafted Zach Wilson, and it was their responsibility to develop him, and they didn't. That regime. So I'm out on the Jets. Sorry.
So, okay, all right. Just not defending Clay's piece, or I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon and say that the Jets are winning the Super Bowl, but couldn't you make the argument that if you got even just slightly below average Aaron Rodgers play, that you're still getting enough out of your quarterback play with that talent you have on the roster to get more than the 7 wins you got last year? Is that worth a win? Is that worth 3 wins? Is that worth a division title?
Yeah, 3 wins. I think it could be worth 3 wins. 3 wins, and they still might not make the playoffs. The AFC is loaded. And that's what I'm talking about with the schedule with the Bills. Like, there's teams that we're not even really talking a ton about right now. Like the Jaguars, who sneaky at the end still are going to be super pesky in that division. If Will Levis hits in year 2 and makes a jump, Tennessee added kind of sneaky a lot of talent too. And then you look at, like, the Browns. You look at that, Antonio Pierce. They were playing tough for him last year. They don't have a quarterback, but if they get a little bit frisky, you got Harbaugh in L.A., there is tons of talent across this conference that the Jets could improve to 10 wins and still miss the playoffs. I mean, I think I did our picks for what I think the Bills are going to win this season, and I had them at 12 wins.
Oof.
If that's 12 wins and they win the division, or let's say they get 11 wins and they finish second in the division, Miami gets 12 wins, they win the division, where are the Jets going at 10 wins? So, yeah, do I think they could be better? Yes. Do I think they'll be better? Yes. I still think it might not be enough.
All right, so the big question there, you're looking at the schedule. It's an early start down in Miami there on a Thursday. Matt, that's not that far a drive to Central Florida for you, buddy.
Yeah, it's far enough. Okay, I don't ever want to do that drive again if I can avoid it.
Miami to Orlando is a bear of a drive.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not a fun drive.
It's kind of sneaky annoying. So here's the thing. We had it when the schedule came out. I'm like, let's do it. Let's get out. We're going to get the annual pass. We're going to get after it. So we put everything aside, and then I'm like, here's the thing, babe. It's a night game on Thursday. So if, let's say, for all intents and purposes, I kill it after the game, I get done with everything, I get back to the hotel, I'm sleeping by 3, which is never happens on a road game for a primetime game. So I get up at 7, maybe I get 4 hours of sleep, or maybe I don't sleep. Well, we don't want that because I got to drive 3 hours. I drive to Orlando from there. The earliest I'm getting there is 10 or 11. You're already in the parks. I got to spend an hour meeting up with you. By the time we're there, it's a half a day. I don't know. It became too much, and so we're going to pass.
I think if it fell on a weekend, you might be able to pull it off a little bit easier. If it fell on my experience with the drive you're talking about, Matt, was when the Bears were in the Super Bowl, and I drove from Orlando to Miami for the game during the day, came back after the game, drove back to Orlando. It was the saddest drive of my life. So I'm damp from standing in the rain, and the Bears lost, and I'm miserable. So I might be a little bit biased in terms of the quality of that drive. It's just not a fun drive.
No, and it's sneaky. Like if you hit traffic, it's like 4 hours. So like 3.5, 4 hours. Like it's not. I don't know. It just became too much, and also it's the first week of school. So my wife's a principal, so that's going to be at her school she's at now, her first week open. So she doesn't want to miss time, and it's important for the teachers and the kids. So
she's a superwoman. She's a principal, and she's managing your schedule and 2 kids.
She's an assistant principal technically, but yes, she is Wonder Woman, man. Like I hit the lottery.
All right, so if I'm allowed to live vicariously through the young Perino family,
you're figuring out another plan.
I'm thinking to myself, I want to know the checklist of the resorts that you've stayed at and the resorts that you're eyeing to stay at the next time you go down there. I need to be consulted on these plans, Matt.
All right. We're a Marriott family, so we've stayed at the Swan.
Okay.
Or we stayed at the Dolphin, and we're staying at the Swan in February because that's our big family trip. We're going back. So we're going to stay there again. And then we also stayed at Art of Imagination when we went once, which was nice, but the rooms were a little bit too small for our size family. We really want to go big and stay at, I'm going to mess it up. I can never remember what it is. It's on the tram when you're going on the monorail.
Contemporary or Old Key? Grand Floridian?
The Grand Floridian. We want to do that one time. Just live it big, every time I go through there, I'm like, this feels nice. This feels like this is the place you want to be.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, Matt, we know that is in your future. Let our audience know what's in the future here for the Shout Podcast and what you're working on this week here as far as your coverage of OTAs.
Yeah, I don't want to shift everybody over, but we're going to be live on YouTube at about 4:30, going over everything that happened at practice today, all of our takeaways. You're going to want to finish Danger and Battaglia. You could catch us on demand on all the audio platforms. Appreciate you having me, guys.
I see what you're doing. If I have a conflict, I can't invite myself on then. 4:30.
I mean, you got to worry about the day job right now, So we'll see if we can't get that lined up for.
Or just keep scheduling them for the middle of the afternoon where you don't have any worry of Gene Battaglia wedging his foot in the door.
Yeah, well, I do my best. Luckily, the schedule gave us this opportunity today, so
the best
we'll step into it.
Enjoy your week.
Thanks, Matt.
Talk to you soon. There's Matt Perino covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, giving us his thoughts on today's session at OTAs.
Been to All-Star Sports and the Caribbean.
Okay.
That's about it.
Caribbean's nice. We've stayed there a couple of times. The list for me now has gotten so long that I'm going to forget places that I've stayed at. I can tell you I've never stayed at Art of Animation that he was talking about, or All-Star Sports, which you just mentioned. I did stay at Caribbean twice. We've done Port Orleans once. That's where we stayed when I drove to Miami to go to the Super Bowl. We've done the Contemporary for a few days. We've done Old Key West. We did the Yacht Club. That was fun.
The Yacht Club. Well, we've eaten at the Yacht Club.
Yeah. We did. Oh, the one that I think the kids and my wife like the best is actually the Animal Lodge. You wake up and it's like you look out your window and there's a giraffe out your window. It's like, where are we? What is going on? Wilderness Lodge. That was the other one that we stayed at too. So
wow, you didn't reel it. Just pulled it one.
Dude,
wow.
Every year we were going there for a while there, and I didn't realize it either because it was. I mean, you have so much fun, you just kind of get locked in, and you don't even realize, like, oh God, I've gone to Disney every year that my kids were like. It was our thing. It was our annual trip. Now we got to shift gears. No more theme parks. Now we got to start looking at real estate, Gina. Real estate. That's what the Florida trips are about now.
Now you're looking to make money.
Got to create our own Disney. That's what we got to do. We got to come back with some takes on tap next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so things that we can get to here in the sports bar is, well, this is the time of year, right? And I think I'm going to bring you the dumbest quote that's come out of OTAs so far, and some more thoughts here on the Amerks coaching search and why this one candidate makes absolutely no sense.
I want to go back to the reaction to the Knicks losing to the Pacers on Sunday, and I saw this on Sunday, and I wasn't here yesterday to share this, but somebody, a legend, an NBA legend, put something out, and very sneakily, I think it might be kind of like a brilliant move. Either he's a massive narcissist, or he did this on purpose just because he can. And if it is the latter, then I would say I'm going to start doing more of this in my updating of sports.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Some takes on tap next. Stand by for I'll Drink to That in the sports bar. Plus your calls at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The attendance has been great. The focus day in and day out has been tremendous. Going out there to practice for the second day now, how focused they were, intentional about improving, just getting these players as up to speed as quickly as we can.
I like the schedule. I do believe the Bills will come off 12-5. I think the Bills still will win the division for a fifth straight year, and they will sweep the Fish.
Mike Danger.
My bigger, overarching, wide view of this offseason for the Bills is I don't like it. I don't like what they've done. I don't like the decisions that they've made. It's going to be hard for me to come around by the time we get to training camp. Don't worry, I'll get there.
Gene Battaglia.
You know, something I've learned, all football players look great this time of year. Everybody's
excited. Excitement season.
Excited. Yep, everybody looks great in the sunshine and in shorts.
Let's have a day.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, power play goal, Edmonton in Game 7.
On the court, the Celtics and Pacers open the Eastern Conference Final at 8 Eastern in Boston tonight.
How is everybody doing on this beautiful Tuesday?
Thank you for listening to the show.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
We welcome you back in to the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. And Bronny's right. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Spring continues to be a myth. I mean, our spring this year consisted of just steady rain showers. It felt like every single day. But you get to feel like summer.
It's summer here.
Had its Memorial Day
that
weekend.
Is it. You ready to grill this weekend, buddy?
You know what? I grilled last weekend and the weekend before that. This weekend, I'm ready to have somebody grill for me. I'm ready to be pampered this week. I've done the grilling the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Who might that be?
Well, it won't be my wife.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. I'm sorry. She doesn't view it as the grill. She calls it the box with the fire in it. That's her. Wait, she didn't even know what it's called. Let's get to some takes here in the Sports Bar.
Yeah, we were kind of joking about this, but welcome everyone. Come on in to the Sports Bar where, if you're a football fan, you know what season it is. Best shape of his life season. Everything is great in the NFL.
Everybody looks good.
Everyone is optimistic. Hey, we're ready to put in the work. I think we're reaching the point, Danger, where sure, a lot of fans get hyped up about this, but I think a lot of fans are also not falling for some of this BS. Take this tweet from Adam Schefter. Quote, Panthers head coach Dave Canales, sidebar, I forgot he was the head coach, said that Bryce Young is doing fantastic in Carolina's new offense. Comes this retweet from former ESPN employee Trey Winkle. But seriously, what's he supposed to say? Yeah, they drafted the wrong guy and we're screwed.
Right.
At this point, which I think it's funny that you had a former ESPN commentator talking about the current one. But like, if we bring this a little closer to home, we remember Tremaine Edmonds, how he was going to be the next Ray Lewis. Or do you remember Eddie Yarborough?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie Yarborough. Yeah,
Forgot about that guy.
He's never stuck, and I don't know what he's doing now, but he's been out of football for 3 years.
Well, you reach a certain level, and then the expectation changes everything. The level of quality improves your lot in life, right? Like, Eddie Yarborough was great compared to what they had. And then you're just grasping like, oh, I hope it pans out. This is what makes me nervous about the wide receiver position, right? Like, okay, you move on from Diggs, get it. But, are we really thinking that some of the guys that they brought in are going to be difference makers? Is MVS, Chase Claypool, are they difference makers, or are we just going to be like, oh, well, okay?
Well, the clip you played from McDermott earlier about Claypool and about MVS, it's just fluff.
It's nauseating.
But, like, if you're McDermott, this is who he is, and he's not going to tell you anything critical, not in the month of May.
I think it's also just a symptom of being an NFL head coach. Back to the tweet from Schefter. I mean, what's Dave Canales going to say? He's not going to say that we have the wrong quarterback for this team. He's not going to say that Bryce Young doesn't have a skill set which I can employ with ease. He's going to say, yeah, he's picking everything up. He's doing everything we're asking him to do. This is going to be great. Fans, stay tuned. If you're a Carolina fan, we need you back. They don't get any primetime games either. They're the
only team without any primetime games, which, let's put that into context. That was the number one overall pick last year. Like, this year, hey, I'm not a Bears fan. I'm going to check out Caleb Williams. I'm curious to see how it is. It went so bad in Carolina. No, we don't want you to see this here.
Yeah, and now they're in the position of, well, we have to earn our primetime games. Like, yeah, good luck with that. I don't think anybody's going to do David Tepper any favors at all. Like, that guy is just not liked. Not a likable guy.
You were mean to Frank Reich.
Yeah. Right. Frank Reich, of all people. You didn't get along with that guy? What's wrong with you? Gino, I had to comment on a legendary tweet that was sent by Magic Johnson. He wrote this on Sunday. His tweet read, "The Knicks' magical run came to an end today, no pun intended, because the Pacers shot 67% from the field." And then he ends it with the mind-blown emoji. Is there anything about that update that stands out to you?
Knicks' magical run came to an end today.
How about the use of no pun intended?
Yeah, I was going to say, what is the pun?
When no pun was given.
What is the pun?
Is it a situation where it's like, well, you can't be too safe? You know, you never know when you're doing a pun that isn't intended. Would it have just been easier for him to say New York was too nicked up, no pun intended, to get by Indiana? Or is Magic just such a narcissist that he believes just because he drops a word with his name in it as an update, it becomes a pun? Because if that's the case, I can't wait. I can't wait to drop the Bills are in a dangerous path to losing their AFC East lead, no pun intended, if they can't beat the Jets on Monday Night Football. It might be a strong play just to drop in a no pun intended when there's really no pun to be found.
I didn't even cross my mind, magical run, and like he's actually saying I'm doing a pun on my own name.
Right, that doesn't seem like it's a pun. It's unless you're really that self-absorbed. So maybe that's what I'll start doing. I'll just mix in the word dangerous where I can.
Magic, never change.
Yeah,
it says never change. Continue to comment. Look, you're now involved in Washington football too. Commanders, just comment on everything. It's fantastic.
They're having a magical practice today in Washington. The Commanders, no pun intended. What? There was no pun given. Oh, is that what you're doing? That might be a strong play moving forward.
For those that want to see Michael Pekka as the next head coach of the Rochester Americans, look, I get it. He would be great. Of course he would be. He's in a really good spot now as the assistant coach of the Rangers. We're still playing. That would be weird for him to take a step back. There's also this money. Ballparking it here because I really don't know what Pekka makes. I don't know what any AHL coach makes. But ballpark, your average NHL assistant can make $200,000 to $500,000, where an AHL coach kind of averages around $200,000. I don't think Michael Pekka will be taking a step back, and I don't think he wants to take a pay cut. I continue to think that the guy is here all along, that being Adam Mayer. And yesterday we had Brian Colsey on, which that was a really interesting PGA championship. We'll get to that in a second. But Brian Colsey, I asked him yesterday about Adam Mayer.
Oh, hang on, Gino, because I'm a little bit. You have that there?
I do.
Okay.
From what everybody has said when Adam Mayer has worked within the Sabres organization, that he's super, super well-liked. Obviously played during Lindy Ruff's time. And I think when you talk about Mayer himself, it's a player that brings an attitude of strong work ethic, team first, very disciplined, very structured. So I think when you're talking about working with younger players and developing players, I think that could be a really good fit.
All right. So to me, Danger, if I had to pick a leader in the clubhouse, I think it's that guy, if he wants it.
If he wants it. Does he want to be a coach? Does he want to be a head coach? He's been the leader, the head of player development.
But could you ask for a better situation? Like Lindy Ruff, the guy you once played for, and Seth Appert. I mean, it's not like there's this unfamiliarity.
Yeah.
You're just kind of moving the chairs around in the deck here, basically.
Right. And you have to hope that you have a succession plan in player development as well, because you'd be creating a hole there. Yeah, sometimes you just got to connect the dots and say, that makes too much sense for it not to work. And this is one of those situations where it's like, that kind of makes a lot of sense. If they went that route, he's well-liked. He's been with them for all these years. I know that the critics would be like, who's he developed in Buffalo? It's a different situation, man. You get him in Rochester with the guys that are still young and that aren't a lock, by the way. Like, there's no guarantee that Kulik and Roseanne are going up to Buffalo next year. Everybody that we talk to says, look, those days with the Sabres are done.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect they would start here, actually. Like, go ahead, prove it.
Right.
Here's what you need to do to work your way up.
Right.
So.
And so, you take what you've learned from Seth Appert, you add in what you can learn from Adam Mayer, and maybe that makes you prepared for that next level. I'm partial to our guy Pacer. I love Pacer. I hope he's getting a fair shake. I hope he's interviewing. I hope he's slaying in his interview. But I mean, if you just went with the guy who has been there and is well liked and has done everything that they've asked him to do within the organization, and now has another connection with the new head coach of the team, that feels like it might be the fit. Feels like it might be the fit. What did Koziel have to say about the PGA Championship? What a great ending.
All right, so there was a lot to kind of break down, and Valhalla being one of them. You don't see major courses give up 21 under for being the winning score. So, sure, it was rainy. That softened up the greens, but you could have done a lot more. So, Koziel didn't hate it, but when you put it against Pinehurst coming up here in a few weeks there for the U.S. Open, that's going to be a different game.
The U.S. Open is unfair. I mean, the U.S. Open makes it almost like unplayable. Like, these guys are good luck breaking par. Like, that's really, I feel like what the U.S. Open is almost every year.
We just talked about like how golfers, like any professional athlete, has to be mentally tough. But can you imagine just being arrested and then you have to go on stage right after? I mean, just like the mental toughness of Scheffler, or any of these guys for that matter.
Yeah, I love the ending. I love how it all came down to one putt, and to see Scheffler, get his first was that was a nice moment, and DeChambeau was a nice moment too. Like thinking, we could have a playoff. That would be it was setting up for a historic ending. It was a fun ending. It was a fun tournament, and it's one that we'll always remember, mainly because of Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah,
I still can't believe he got arrested, messed around, and shot 5 under the same day. That is a different level of mental clarity.
And then yesterday we had the conflicting reports. It sounded like at the beginning of the day, all right, they're just going to drop everything and kind of move on. But then at the end of the day, the arraignment's going to be on June 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a report, I don't know if it's true or not, that the body cam footage.
There is no body cam footage.
Right.
Convenient.
Or there was, and now there's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Very convenient that there's no body cam footage. The Bills were on the practice field today, Gino. OTAs. Day 2?
Yeah, day 2, OTAs. Look, it's a day like gets their appetite wet here for, football ahead.
One storyline that we haven't really, I'm sure you talked about it yesterday because it was still fresh in everybody's mind. What is the future of Micah Hyde with the Buffalo Bills? He had his charity softball tournament. Some people speculated that if he was going to announce a retirement, he would have done it there. Mm-hmm. He didn't. And today, Sean McDermott was asked about Micah Hyde's future and if there is some way that the Bills and Micah Hyde can come to terms.
Well, I think he said it publicly the other day that he was either going to the Bills or he was going to retire. So, and we have our, private conversations as well. And Mike is always going to hold a special place in my heart. Again, I remember going on 8 years ago now, standing in front of you guys and introducing Mike as one of our first free agents that we signed here. So, again, the mark that he's made on this community and this team, this organization, it'll last a long time. And he and I were discussing the other day and the value of the softball game and home run derby. And it's real easy when you're done playing, right, to just, done playing, I use that term loosely here with his situation, flexibly, to just not do that anymore, right? But I think it, again, shows the type of person, the type of character, the type of family that the Hydes are to continue to want to do that here in Buffalo. That just says a lot about who they are.
Would it be fair to say that you just told Mike to stay in shape? Like the A.J. Klein thing last year, where you get thin and you need help and you got a guy you trust and he's in shape, plug him in.
Mike is always going to be on our radar, and we'll see where it goes. So I think there's, ultimately it'll be up to Micah and Brandon in terms of the decision and how that all comes to be. And But yes, overall, and Mike is built that way, right, Steve? As you know, he's always going to be in shape. He's out there, being a husband, being a dad, and yet also I know he's making sure he's in good shape and ready to go.
I mean, what this breaks down to is he's a great break glass in case of emergency option to have for the Bills at safety. Is it not that?
That's it. It seems like, because if you're just judging on what you saw last year on the field, he looked like he was done, honestly. And he's coming off this neck injury from 2 years ago. But now it's spring and maybe summer, maybe you're feeling better. Here's one thing I do know about football players, by and large. They don't like this time of year. Like, they really would rather have the time to themselves. They really don't like training camp.
Yeah.
They'll be out there saying all the right things and smiling and signing your autograph at Fisher. But if Micah Hyde can play it this way, because the paychecks don't happen until week 1. That's also another part of this. Like, there's really not much of a benefit for Micah Hyde, somebody who knows the whole system inside and out. He can just kind of show up whenever at that point. I do like the fact, though, that from a Bill standpoint, he said, hey, it's Buffalo or nowhere else. And I think that I wouldn't have any reason to think that Micah Hyde wouldn't be telling you the truth on that.
Yeah, Mike Edwards absent from OTAs, by the way, the free agent safety signing by the Buffalo Bills.
Shoulder issue.
Yeah, a couple of guys absent. I mean, overall, attendance pretty good, but you got a couple of guys that are recovering. Spencer Brown also, I want to say, has a shoulder injury that has him out of OTAs as well. So, I feel like with Hyde, that's what this really is all about. It's like, hey, we'll keep you on speed dial, but only if Taylor Rapp goes down in the preseason or if Mike Edwards, if something happens. They've made the investments with Cole Bishop. They've made the investments with D. Delaney. You still have Hamlin. You still have Cam Lewis. I think Micah Hyde is that break glass in case of emergency option at safety if there's an injury, or if you just get substandard play from some of these guys, which I don't know that you're going to get from Rapp or Edwards, or certainly Bishop.
I'll give Hyde also credit to, for not putting, put the focus on the charity and everything else. I really thought he was going to announce his retirement this past weekend with the softball game and everything else. No, it's not time here. So,
any highlights from the softball game that I missed from yesterday?
Didn't watch a minute of it.
Josh Allen, I think, was the home run derby champion, which that feels appropriate. We also had Sean McDermott today being asked about one of the bigger off-season questions for the Buffalo Bills. Who's going to be calling plays on defense?
Yeah, not there. Sal, again, it's probably a more fair question at this point when we're in the middle of the training camp, probably. So I won't make a decision before then. If I do, I'll let you know. But I think you guys can put that question in your back pocket for until middle of training camp, I would say.
How's it look then in OTAs, Coach? Do you kind of I guess, what it looks like on the field? Does Bobby get a little bit of kind of time to do that a little bit? Do you do that and kind of work through it? How does it look?
Yes, but prematurely a little bit. We've only been out there for one practice, so a lot of our practice early on is always scripted. So there's very little, if any, play calling going on. It's more scripted out practices, scripted out situations.
Now, this is a lot of people picking up on this, too. Taron Johnson speaking to reporters today as they're all kind of still working their way through. Danger, you tell me, does he kind of say here, indeed, it is going to be Babbage as your play caller?
He's going to thrive at. I mean, he was already a great coach, but just being able to call the defense, and his football knowledge is so high. It's the highest I've known out of any coach I've ever been with. So just that alone, I feel like just puts us in such a great position.
Yeah, so it sounds like Babbage is calling the plays, or at least they're trying him out at calling the plays.
Here's what I want my head coach to do. I want him to be a delegator. I don't need rolling up the sleeves and taking the clipboard and everything. I understand there's a lot of great coaches like Andy Reid who does this on offense, but for Sean McDermott, I need him focused on other things like managing the end of the game. 2 minutes and you got the ball against Kansas City. What are we doing on 1st and 10? Oh, we're going to go incomplete, and then no, like I need you focused on other things like game management rather than calling who's going to blitz here on 3rd down.
Yeah. Well, now is the time to work through all of that. Now is the time to give Bobby Babbage some reps, see how everybody responds to it. And if you just take Taron Johnson's clip there in a vacuum, it sounds like he's pretty confident in the new defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills calling plays.
Yeah, as he should be. And I just want an interesting point that Matt Perino brought up, because he's bringing it back to last year and how, hey, the Bills have this tough schedule and, well, Sean McDermott making the move. And who's going to be that person this year? And
the scapegoat?
Yeah.
It's even if it's the special teams coordinator, right? Even if it's Smiley, like, can you really blame them? Like, they've changed the play. They've changed special teams dramatically to the point where every special teams coordinator in the NFL could look foolish at one point or another this year.
If it repeatedly happens, though, if they're way behind on this, and there were so many things we could blame last year, but I can point to 2 losses directly. Oh, special teams actually cost you that game. I don't think that would be enough to, kind of appease everyone if that's kind of the direction. So you should not let go of Babbage, and you should not let go of Joe Brady for that matter. They're both kind of getting used to this.
The eyeballs will be on all offseason and during training camp on the wide receiver position to see who emerges, who actually makes this team. It'll be one of the more compelling storylines you hear anybody around this team talking about. Who will be catching passes from Josh Allen this season? Sean McDermott on the Bills wide receivers.
Yeah, a number of new faces. I think it was eight new faces or more. So it creates a different dynamic, to your point. It creates energy. It creates a little bit of a wait-and-see approach in terms of the competition, the evaluation, who fits into what roles, how we build our offense around who we have. So I really like the way that those guys are working. Coach Henry's doing a phenomenal job with them, and to their credit, they've all embraced, hey, you're going to be moving around, you're going to be trying different positions, we're going to be trying you out, and the mental piece that goes with that is not easy, and they've all embraced that, and my hat goes off to them for it.
I like that part that I just heard him say, that we're trying them out all over the place. I want that. I don't want to go in the season and say, they drafted Keon Coleman to be the X. I want to know, like, okay, you might have that in mind for him long term, but right now, why not try him in the slot and see if that's a place where he excels? Why not, put Shakir out wide? Let's mess it up a little bit here while you're doing it, while it doesn't matter, it's OTAs, and see if anything stands out. I actually like hearing that from Sean McDermott today on the wide receivers.
Yeah, no problem with that whatsoever. And I want also some of these guys who's going to be the returner, like going back to the special teams. And that seems to be a storyline that I don't think is getting talked enough about. Do the Bills have this fear of God guy back there? Like, for instance, do the Dolphins try Tyreek Hill out? Why wouldn't they? If it's like a tie game, would you put Hill back there? Like, who would be that guy? And I forget who we had on last week, but bringing up Ty Johnson as, if that would not excite me.
Yeah, it guarantees Ty Johnson that third running back position, and it probably, I mean, that makes sense when you consider, like, all right, what's going to get him? We don't need 3 running backs, but if we have a third, he better be contributing to special teams, which Ty Johnson could do. But I also think that what we heard from Chase Claypool today leads us to believe that if he has a path to this roster, it'll be through playing on special teams as well. And who knows what that role looks like for Chase Claypool if he is playing teams for the Bills. Fascinating stuff. Hearing from McDermott, hearing from Josh Allen, hearing from the receivers, hearing, from a lot of players. And from Matt Perino, who joined us last hour. We'll get that conversation up and available wherever you get your podcasts. You just search out the Sports Bar, and all of our guest appearances are listed there. Matt gave us his full report from today's session and also gave us his thoughts on last week's schedule release, since this is the first time we had a chance to talk to Matt since the schedule release last week. Always good catching up with Matt. All right, abbreviated Sports Bar today. Let's get to a round of shots next.
So why did Rory and Erica split up? Okay, we're getting a little gossipy, but we do have a report. There was a reason, supposedly, on why this all kind of fell apart there. We will kind of go into baseball here a little bit, as one player for the Red Sox on a nice tear here. And We talked about a commencement speech last week. This one's much, much different here.
All
I
right.
think this might actually make you laugh, Dane.
We will get to a round of shots next in our abbreviated sports bar with Danger and Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the